I wanted to be an Olympic champion and I didn't care about the goings on around me. In my heart and with all of my soul, I was ready, willing, and I was very able.
The next generation of athletes are ready, so let's check out the 5 wildest venues for the Brisbane 32 Olympics. After a 100-day review by the Queensland State Government, the announcement has been made. One of the most hotly debated topics is the surprise announcement of a new 63,000-seat stadium to be built in Victoria Park. The $3.8 billion cost, or $5 billion if you factor in transport upgrades. A new 25,000 capacity swimming facility that will become the home of Australian swimming, and there's nothing more exhilarating than the plan to host rowing at the Fitzroy River, known Croc country.
Crikey, another couple of inches and I reckon I would have had a squeaky voice.
And then what about gymnastics? Did we just forget about it? We got to start off with rowing in this amazing interview.
Food supply in the Fitzroy is extraordinarily good for crocodiles.
So how on earth did we get here? Well, essentially, the 100-day report says the original destination for the event, it can be built up real nice and cheap. However, the access road in is windy, 4.5 kilometres of road that needs upgrade, which should be too expensive to do. Plus, lower down the stream, they're going to put a water treatment facility in, and basically it's going to be the catchment for the town, and we can't have athletes pissing in the town water supply. So, the report said move it down to Sydney, move it down to Penrith. It did the trick in the year 2000 Olympics, and the government of Queensland said, no, we got to look after regional Queensland. And bada bing, bada boom, they took it to Rockhampton. Known Croc country.
So, there are crocs there, there's no doubt about it, and there's been a few removed in the last few years. I caught my first croc in the Fitzroy in 1982. I tell you, you're more likely to get run over by a bus on the way to the boat ramp than you are to a crocodile popping up in the middle of a rowing event.
And Rowing Australia CEO Sarah Cook is all about that. In fact, she's not worried at all. What she is worried about is she just needs 2 kilometres and 8 lanes wide for the racing. And what she doesn't potentially have in the Fitzroy River is room for warm-ups and cool-downs. Also, she needs deep water with a constant flow, and there's a few side streams coming into the river that may affect that and put a bit of disturbance in the water for those in the outside lanes. The move to the Fitzroy seems so last minute we can't even find architectural renders on the website for it. Here's the current facilities. It's all a bit of hot tin roof and not a whole lot else. So definitely a lovely clean slate to start with. Now, at the bottom of the orange line here, that's where the club rooms are. Now, they reckon they're going to be 10,000 spectators along to this one, and they're not all going to want to be parked behind the finish line. And because the western side of the river is all trees, you've probably got to put everyone on the other side. Now, also, when you zoom in about the middle of the river, you can see the outside lane, and you can see all those who commute up the east side doing their warm-ups get awfully close to that outside lane. And if they can't get it to work after a year, don't be surprised if this moves back to Penrith. Expect all these mind games, croc games to play into Laura's hands come game day. For the swimming, we've got an upgrade and a complete redevelopment of Centenary Pool. Now, this thing's going to end up with a 25,000 person capacity. It will become the home of Australian swimming. Now, this is another one that the 100-day report said, too difficult, the site won't work, topography's all over the show, there's not enough flat land. The changing rooms will be too far away from the competitor area in the pool. There's nowhere that's flat for the temporary bus stops that'll be required. You have to close too many roads in the local street grid. But this is Swimming Australia and it's about to become their new HQ. Who stops them? These guys bring in more gold to the country than Hancock prospecting.
And medals made using Queensland minerals.
Speaking of having the minerals, there's a saying around here which goes, if you piss like a puppy, stay out of the pool and let the big dogs race. Now let's check out some of the athletes who are going to dominate in 2032. Jacqueline Barclay in the 100 metre backstroke, and then Olivia in the 100 metre free, repeating her Paris heroics. Since the time of Athens, the world has known no greater stage than to go for broke than on an Olympic infrastructure build. Many of the greatest civilizations have been brought to their knees by cost blowouts and time restrictions. The Olympic system is so broken that Brisbane effectively got the gig by default. It's been over 1,000 days since Brisbane won the Olympics for 32, And they're not very far out of the blocks at all. And this 100-day report is about corralling that and saying, right, we wrote some wild stuff in our bid document. Is any of it actually deliverable? Do we have the land? Is it better used for other things? Do we have the transport infrastructure? Are there better options? And as a result, they've changed the venue of nearly half the stadiums. And there's been no greater example of this than the main stadium, now on its third location. It's been too old with the Gabba rebuild, too small with Cusick, and now Goldilocks is hoping it's just about right with Victoria Park.
Is just right.
While the Gabba would have been gold for the Cross River Link and rail, you can't help but think Exhibition Station is going to be a bit underjuiced now that it's the main station for the main stadium, the Olympic Village, and the swimming pool. It just doesn't have the capacity, the vertical lifting, and the amount of physical security systems they're going to have to put in this place. It's going to need a humongous overhaul. The site currently presents as a pretty bland golf course. It could be made so much more iconically Australian. And at night time, there'd be a world of possibilities for activations that reflect Australia. Lucky foot access seems a bit confused at the moment. There's probably too many meandering paths that seem to be going nowhere in particular, and a very limited number of ways over the motorway. When I was involved with the bid work for Parramatta Stadium, a huge amount of it was accepting you have to have large boulevards to move the large quantums of people, but then also offsetting that with smaller, more human scale areas that work during the week. One bit I potentially love are these sides of the stadium. It almost has a like Kakadu kind of look, like Queensland cliffs. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it because, to be honest, this render does look a little bit rushed and a little bit clip art. I mean, there's not even a running track inside the stadium. Now, running track, how to reflect who you are as a community within built form. In Paris, the royal city, they went purple on the track. So anytime you look back at old Olympic history, you see the purple tartan, you know it was Paris. Here, we've probably got a great opportunity to do something along the red sands of outback Queensland. Because while it's highly unlikely that an athlete in 32 will do something as monumental as Kathy Freeman did in Sydney, there are some who will bring some awesome flavour of their own.
You know, he said recently, Gout, that he wants to be Gout and not like you, Sloan. So I can completely get his point of view on that. But certainly he would be prepared for the comparisons, wouldn't he, Gout?
This young lad, if you don't know him,
in case anyone missed it,
Look at this kid go.
last December, this teenager blasted onto the world stage by going faster than Usain Bolt at the same age, a month shy of 17.
He is absolutely gone. He's out of this world.
now it's unfair to make these comparisons on the young athlete, so I'll leave that to the GOAT of sprinting. And yes, if I had a reported $4 million Adidas deal, I'd be talking to my shoes too. And he's by no means the only Australasian athlete absolutely ripping it up at the moment. Two-time NCAA 1500 metre runner Mia Ramsden
Can anyone catch Maya Ramsden?
could do great things, and Sam Ruth, just last week, at 15 years of age, became the youngest person ever to run a 4-minute mile. And then there's Jared Clifford, who I've literally seen break a world record on his day off. He was out pacing a mate, and 30k, he sat down because he was finished, did a good job. His coach came by and said, "Oi, get back up, finish the race, you're on track for a para world record." And bloody oath, he got up and got it done. Now, if 17 cubic of water per second's more your thing,
Redland Whitewater Centre, which will be a venue for canoe slalom at the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
this was brought about by the council really getting behind and integrating as part of a wider master plan. Now, the 100-day plan also very astutely pointed out that the water will be warmer in Queensland than the alternative, which was dragging it down to Penrith, where it was back in the year 2000. The challenging and fun part of this is all the hydro engineering, getting the wave trains, the eddies, just perfect. And when you move into the real space, all the obstacles are actually movable, so you can redesign over time. Now, who to watch? Naomi Fox, the younger of the Fox sisters. When she's not barging her way down rapids, she's up running mountains with us. She won gold in Paris on debut, so watch out Brisbane. Whilst not yet confirmed as a 2032 Olympic event, trail and mountain running is one of the largest and fastest growing sports globally. It would be phenomenal to see this take place on the hills of the Gold Coast, tropical rainforests and world famous beaches in the background. It would require minimum infrastructure and gives you max entertainment. A future star to watch out for locally, Elijah Gosby. And then no one should be bidding against Ruthless Ruth Croft, one of the sport's true greats. If Victoria Park and the main stadiums for the opening ceremony and the games begin, then Brisbane Showgrounds and the Athlete Village is when the fun and games begin. For an Olympic village, incredibly well located, under a kilometre walk from both the swimming centre and the main stadium. Go out to party in Fortitude Valley afterwards? Oh yeah, this will be sweet. Lendlease have put up King Street precinct for this. They'll be the ones looking to deliver all the residential and it'll then get converted into short-term and key worker housing build-to-rent accommodation afterwards, which incentivises them to build a good product that'll stick around for longer. Hopefully no more of these cardboard beds. Lendlease have a great track record on this. They've done Sydney, they've also done London. What we're seeing in this one, a very vertical athlete village, and also there's a sub-athlete village out at Gold Coast, also much more vertical structure in the towers. This will have a lot more people in a smaller area, which means the footfall on the ground will be so much more dynamic. Your chances of bouncing into Gout or one of the other superstars is so much higher. Now, interestingly, I was once involved in the King Street development, working on this bar, which will end up probably being the main bar in the athlete village, and yikes, if we had known about it at the time, I'd have made it much, much bigger. If you're interested in how these precincts can be repurposed post-games, check out our Sydney Olympic Park video. The gymnastics, yes, we did, completely forgot about it.
Been forgotten.
In that 36-page document yesterday, there was no mention of gymnastics. Andrew Liveris has visited this facility, promised us a new facility, and understood the dilapidated state that this facility is in.
Paris already decided gymnastics 9 months out, so we have time.
But Paris had half a dozen venues that could host the gymnastics. Our main venue, it needs a bit of work. We'll keep you updated, so please subscribe.